I've got the Dapper Brother, I've got Sir Glenn Bryson, I've got Pastor George, and we're simply talking about male grooming. And I want us to jump right in now that we've gotten the game out of the way. Let's take our gloves off. It's just a candid conversation. Let's think of it as a conversation amongst brothers. It's just 4 brothers having a candid conversation. So be free to be as open as possible. Like, let it all out. Okay. Let it all out. Let's start with the first one in terms of, because I know especially with the Dapper Brother and with Sir Glenn Bryson, you guys are into a lot of, how men dress. I mean, Glenn is here with a suit, 3-piece.
I think he's going for a TV interview, guy.
3-piece suit, and then he's got 2 lapels on him, eh? I'm just like, brah.
From a meeting.
So let's start with, how should a man dress? Glenn.
Well, wow, that's one of those questions that you actually don't have an exact answer. But then I think a man should dress in whatever way that they're comfortable in. So obviously dress for the occasion, and I think that's about it from my side, because if you can overdress and the occasion just needs you to put on shorts. You can't go to the beach in a suit.
Yeah, that would be extra. It would be like you're going to you're addressing a meeting at the beach.
Exactly.
And for you, the Dapper Brother, I mean, you're doing blogging and vlogging rather, and you've got a lot of stuff to do with a lot of fashion and all that. Have you found that the way you dress has sort of changed how people address you and talk to you?
Well, yes, it has. In fact, one of the challenges I had was convincing people that I just started dressing up just the other day when I started my blog. Because they look at me and they're like, wow, it's like you've been dressing like this your whole life. Nika ulkunava suti na napi ukiwa mtoto.
Like your pajamas are
I know
or something, yeah?
Yeah, but the thing
pajamas are 3-piece.
Yeah. That's a nice one.
That's a good one.
The thing is, I believe that every man should dress up first comfortably and presentably. So once I changed my style from what I was wearing to this new figure that is the Dapper Brother, I found that it is easy to get me into some doors that I wouldn't have gotten into back then, just based on the fact that I dress up and dress good.
And what made you have that change from before to now?
And for me, first of all, it's a funny story, because I was going for my internship in university and I did not have any formal clothing, so I just it was crazy. So I just
you were pushing it, right? You were pushing it.
So it was crazy. I just jumped into Pinterest, and like a couple of months down the line, I was just interested into this whole thing that is men's fashion, so wide and so amazing. So I started dressing up, but then I got to a point where I couldn't find any inspiration from local content creators, so I decided, hey, let me try this out, and it was all uphill from there. Yeah.
And for you, Pastor George, because I know we are dressing well, we're looking good. How then should a man then talk to, let's start with fellow men, because sometimes you have guys who are talking to each other, we're mjinga, and you're like, bro, what? Like, tone down on the language. But then how then should a man talk? Let's start first with fellow men.
Definitely, one of the things that ought to be there in a conversation is respect for one another. That's the biggest thing in a conversation. And when you're beginning to address people, you should address people with respect. And so you shouldn't talk to people the way you feel like you ought to or you want to talk to them, but you should address them with respect. And so that's the one thing that that I would tell somebody especially, it says when you go before a king, what you do is that you put a knife to your throat. In other words, you sieve the words that you speak. And so every time you stand before people to speak, the one thing that should come across is that you should be a respectful person as you begin to address people. They shouldn't feel disrespected by the way you talk. Yes.
When we get back, I want us to get into some words that I found is very hard for Kenyan men to speak, where we get to just have candid conversations with men about manning up. And today I'm with Sir Glenn the Dapper Brother.
International school, yeah.
It's the effect of talking to people like you. And of course, Pastor George Masharia. We're simply talking about male grooming. And one of the things I'll say, one of the things I found so difficult, especially amongst men, is to say words like thank you, kindly,
good night,
please,
bye.
and I'm sorry. Even a simple word like I am sorry.
Especially that one.
Like somebody, even when we hurt each other amongst men. I mean, let's be with them. I mean, there's a guy who's hurt me in my life. When I see him sometimes, I feel like throwing rocks at him. I'm like, bruh, what are you doing here? But that simple word, like to say, you know what, fam, I'm sorry. I hurt you. Why is it difficult for that word to come out, the dapper brother?
Well, I think, first of all, I think I'm very, very expressive, yeah? So what I find that people who find it hard to say such words, showing gratitude and all, are people who've been raised with that background that, you know, mwanaume ni kukangumu. And that's, in my opinion, that's toxic masculinity. Because you find that, like, it leads to that point.
Toxic
the brother man today was on that dictionary. He was like, I'm going to introduce this word, toxic masculinity.
Y'all weren't ready.
We don't know. We wasn't.
And I find that goes a long way into also this day there's a lot of depression among young people, and it all boils back to the fact that guys can't really talk about their feelings. Guys can't, you know, show gratitude. You know, a small word like thank you, man. Bless you, I love you, brother.
You know, like, I love you too,
so
brother.
Hard. You know one of them clearly. So such things, I think it's just toxic masculinity that has been ingrained into people since from young age.
So Glenn,
yes,
do you find it hard to tell another man I love you?
In fact, I actually do.
Really? Why do you find it hard to tell a bro I love you, brother, man?
I don't find it hard, It's just that when they I feel like when they tell me back, I'm like, okay. No. That's a bit too far.
You're not supposed to say that.
You're not supposed to say it back. Just know that maybe next time you'll come back and tell me, oh yeah, bro, I love you. And I'll be like, cheers, bro, cheers, thanks. But
it's just love amongst brothers. It's just like a brotherly love.
Yes.
I mean, if we're to go deep biblical, even when Paul would finish writing to Timothy, he would end with, I love you. If we're to go a biblical direction. And if you go in a family setup, a father tells his son, I love you.
In fact, he says greet one another with a holy kiss.
Exactly.
Now,
So
I can only imagine. No.
It's a holy kiss. You'll be like on the cheek. Like, hi, brother.
No, I think it's the same thing that the dapper brother just said right now. It's a bit of a toxic masculinity in regard to how the society has placed men as non-emotional beings. You know, we are put up in a space where we are forced to kaa ngumu. You know, you can't really express emotion, and that, I think that really makes gents even now, say for example, lash out to someone because maybe they didn't express themselves, because penginally feel, if I say something, wow, what will this person think about me? Am I soft? Am I becoming girly now? Am I going to stop being a man because I expressed myself? So people are afraid because they feel, they normally, some guys normally feel judged low-key, but then they can't really show it. You see, because the society has also kind of placed men in this I don't know, platform where you have to, you know, just be strong. Unalia kuja ndakuchuna tena uliendele kulia basi go and kaa ngumu somewhere else.
And for you, Pastor George, I know that you're married. How often do you tell your wife I'm sorry? I'm throwing you in the deep here.
I hope Pauline is listening.
Man. I actually do say that I am sorry a lot, because I guess in the relationship I'm the one who normally is on the wrong.
See how he's wise over there. He's like
you've got to understand that different cultures create different different environments create different cultures, and some of the cultures that we've found ourselves in are the homes that we've been brought up in, where we never saw our fathers, if you may, or our elder brothers saying sorry for something that they had done that was wrong, or coming clean and admitting to a mistake. And so a culture has been formed for years before I can get married. And so the people who have modeled a certain culture in my life, at one point or the other, I never saw them saying they were sorry. And so that informs a lot of what I am going to do in the future, based on what I have seen. Do you know that one of the greatest way that we learn is through observation? When we observe things, we learn even more. Do you know that children hardly listen to you, but mostly observe exactly what you do? So how I treat my wife today will determine how my son treats women in the future. And so I want to form a culture in him, so much so that he is able to express himself fully to his wife to be in the future.
Hey, Pastor George, you're thinking far. Your son is like 3 years old. You are thinking
prophesy.
It's called vision.
My friend, even God says that 1,000 years are like one day to him. So yes, but yes, I'm able to say sorry, and it's because of the people who have mentored me in life. I have seen them saying sorry when they were wrong. They admit a mistake.
Yeah, you know, one of the most interesting things, like in the house I grew up in, and especially with my father, surprisingly enough, when my dad wronged you and you confronted him, he would say, "I'm sorry."
That is it.
He would literally tell me, "Sonny, I'm sorry." I would look at him like, bruh.
Are you sure?
Are you sure?
You're supposed to smack me.
But you see, now it becomes easy for you, Chito, to say sorry to someone when they wrong you, or easily come clean and admit a certain mistake, simply because it has been modeled to you. And that's why to every other person and every other man who is listening to us, we've got to model what we want to see in our children. We've got to model it ourselves. If you want that boy to be able to say sorry to someone, you've got to begin to say sorry yourself. You understand?
Yes.
Because we are men and sometimes we make mistakes. And
Kwanzaa, he said that word, mistakes. When we get back, we need to dive into some of the mistakes that men make. Light in the city, I've got the dapper brother, a brother man who blogs and is all about male fashion, and I've got Sir Glenn Bryson. When you just go to Sir Glenn's Instagram, you will know why he's here. A brother man is too lit. He dresses up too lit. But before we're talking about, we're talking about like words.
Yes.
And for me, one of the words in my house that we grew up with, like my dad always said, "I love you."
Yes.
Now, I remember this one time, I have a baby brother, one brother only. And he used to come and tell me, "H2, I love you." And I'll get nagged. I was a teenager. All I wanted was to play video games.
Yes.
Like, don't stress me with you, "I love you." So I never used to respond.
Yes.
Do you know, there are 3 times when my father has raised his voice in a way that is like, I hear like, "Chito." And then I know things I think it was, and that's one of the times. I was like, "Yo, bro, what's up?" He's like, "Tell the boy you love him too." I was like, "So you are calling me in this deep voice so that I tell a kid I love him too?" And surprisingly enough, now we say it without even being told. It just comes out of you. And it comes down to some of the things that we were talking earlier on. We started talking about mistakes.
Yes.
Some of the mistakes that men make. Because now here you are, you've seen this amazing lady. Memcheki, you're like, "Oh my God, this girl, Nimedai. I want her." Hashtag Ikufa. And you approach her. What are some of the mistakes that men make in that process of, you see a girl that you love and you approach her? One of them I hate is when a man whistles at a woman. I find it, I'm like, she's not a dog.
No.
You can't whistle at a human being.
You can't.
The dapper brother.
Yeah, you can't be catcalling people right, left, and center. First of all, the biggest mistake I see men doing, especially in this day and age, is that men feel like they have a lot of options. With the advent of social media, the things like Tinder, you just swipe and you
Swipe left,
like,
swipe right.
Like the choices are in your hands. So when they see a girl who they want, they feel entitled that girl should want them back, and they go there so aggressively, demanding for their availability, and maybe that chick isn't really into you. So that's the biggest challenge. I think men feel like they have unlimited options.
And what are some of the mistakes you have made as the dapper brother? When you look back today, you're like, "Hey, had that situation been handled like this?"
Oh man.
Wow, personally, like I was saying during the segue, we men need to apologize even when it's the women that have done the wrong thing, because sometimes you are in that place where yes, I'm on the wrong, but in order for this relationship to flourish, I need to apologize.
Yes.
Yeah. And maybe when she cools down, she'll get to that point where she can see that yes, she was wrong, and then she'll come approach you and be like, okay, I was wrong, but then I apologize. And she'll respect you for that. So that's something I've learned, especially in my current relationship. Sometimes just let my ego down. Like there's no room for ego in a relationship between two consenting adults.
Yes. So Glenn Bryson, when it comes to how you've seen men approaching women, what are some of the common mistakes
that I've spotted?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Or even that you have made, bruh. Let's be honest. We've all made a couple of mistakes here and there.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, let me start with what I've seen. Like I think some men out there objectify ladies so much, and it's about the same. It revolves around the same thing that the Dapper brother just said right now. They feel entitled that this person should kind of have an interest, not even maybe like them, but just have an interest in whatever this guy has to offer. So guys tend to be a bit aggressive towards that approach, and it ends up backfiring on them. And that's why now you hear this so-and-so lady who was either beaten up or something just because she couldn't submit to this random stranger who didn't want any stories with her. You get? Now, for me, I think to some extent I've read so much into some situations, and it's probably gotten me into stuff. Or
have you been in a relationship on your own? Like, one of those scenarios where you approach a mama and then you're like, you think she's like with you in the relationship, but she's you alone. Like, she doesn't see. Did that happen to you?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So, long story short.
How long were you in that relationship?
Oh wow, it was the most.
At your home?
I won't.
Whole side.
I won't really call it a relationship. Yeah. Let me call it a situationship or something that it's a word that has been floating around.
Yes.
It was more of you're in the relation. I mean, sorry, you're dating that person, but that person isn't dating you. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes.
So it's just you're by yourself, bro. Like it's just you and your bros. The rest, the lady's just there for. I mean, like she's either whatever that you are to her, that's whatever that she uses to say fuel or whatever that you may call it in her life. And well, other than that, being in a relationship by yourself is not a good thing. Let me tell you one thing. And I don't know if there's anyone maybe on the trending hashtag that you have at the moment. People can say what situations they've gotten themselves into. Maybe we can also have the same kind of discussion here.
Yes.
Yeah. So that we can avoid such situations with men, because the outcome of that is that men end up either hating ladies. If you don't really know how to handle such a situation, how to really cleanly get out of such a situation, you'll end up viewing ladies in a different manner, that which maybe even in the end you'll regret. And if you don't have the right counsel, I mean, I thank God I have someone like Pastor George. Me as an animal, like I'm like, yo, wah.
So you
we'll get into that.